and welcome back to the podcast. Happy, like full on spring vibes. I don't know about you, but I have been absolutely loving summer lately. I think I said this last year. I feel like the more that I am becoming an adult and the older I'm getting, the more I'm appreciating the vibes that spring brings. But I still, and summer, but I still love winter. Probably also because I can afford to go to Europe all the time. So I'm like, yep, I want that. Anyway, today's episode, I'm really excited to get into. I just had a one on one call with one of my clients. I just had a call with one of my one on one clients, and we were doing some business stuff. And we were talking about masculine structure, and I was basically telling her, like, I was giving her a homework and I was saying what I want her to map out, and she was like, can you explain to me why, like, what is this going to bring? So I was explaining to her like what all these SOPs are going to do, and like the automations that we can set up, and like how we're going to use the project management system that I'm going to set up with her, and like what that's going to allow her to do, because she's been feeling really stuck in not wanting to show up. And I was so inspired to then come on and talk to you guys, because I cannot tell you how many of you find that your block for getting to that next level of business is showing up. Maybe as you're listening to this, you're like, oh my God, let me sit down to actually digest what Monica's going to say in this podcast episode. And you really might want to, but you are not alone if you struggle with showing up. And something that I firstly want to just like debunk the myth of is that like running a business is easy. I am aware that a lot of people, thanks to social media, think that overnight you should be able to, and it's like, you're doing something wrong if you're not. You should be able to make $1 million in your first year of business. Like, money should come super easily. Sales should just be flowing in. The content is just like flowing out of your mouth all the time. You're always showing up with so much ease. Like, that is not the reality of things all the time. And more importantly, if you aren't setting your business up to match your ideal life, things are not going to work for you. You want your business to feel like your man, where it is there as this supportive element in your life, and you are not getting drained by it all the time. You do not want to feel, oh, guess who needs to come up? The jelly monster. Mwah. I missed you, buddy. Okay. You do not want to feel like you are having to slave away at your business all the time, or like just keep it afloat. You want to feel like your business majority of the time is actually able to run like mostly by itself. And then you're adding in these extra elements, and you're using your magnetism to help draw in things. And obviously we all have different businesses. Some of you guys don't have a business here at all. So maybe you're not listening to this episode, but for those of you that are listening to this episode, you probably have a business, or you're wanting to start a business, or you're wanting to get to the next level of your business. And the first thing that I'm going to say to you is, like, you've got to get out of this mindset that, of comparing yourself to other people that are showing up online, where they just are doing it with so much ease, and like you're fucking failing. Look, if you're not showing up consistently, something's got to change, because you do need to show up consistently, especially if you are the one selling and your brand is you. And a lot of us these days, we are creating personal brands that are helping us with our company, because people buy from people, and it's easier to buy from people than just buying from a company. Like, so many of us, are more likely to continuously purchase from somebody when we know the owner, we feel connected to the owner. Maybe we know their story, and that becomes like a competitive advantage to another business that does a really similar thing. And frankly, if you're missing the mark of having a personal brand wrapped into your business, that is something that you want to work on. And that is a module that I'm going to be bringing to you guys probably before the wedding. In like August, there's going to be a couple new modules dropping. Like, what a surprise. The Feminine CEO has more modules dropping before we go away for our wedding. We've already had 3 new ones drop this year. Well, actually more, but 3 like big ones have dropped this year, all about hiring and onboarding and going through that whole process of like interviews and everything. So if you haven't already watched those and you're in the Feminine CEO, then I would watch those. And then you've got these next ones coming up, because the personal brand aspect is something that is going to help you to also feel safer in your business, in that you are your business, right? Like, you are your brand. And so if you are like separating a part of yourself because you feel like, well, I can't show all of me because, you know, people could think that like this part of me is weird, or like they don't like this part of me. I've got to fit in with what everyone else is doing in the same industry. And like everybody else looks like this and is doing this and is very XYZ. So I need to do that too. A lot of people will split a part of themselves off when they're running their business. And that also adds to their struggle with actually showing up consistently. But coming back to what I was trying to say, the show upping, wow. Showing up consistently, it becomes so much easier when you have this grounded masculine structure, when you have this direction in where you're actually going and some strong foundation that is supporting you. So, this client, for example, she'd been feeling just like, I don't want to show up. Like, she was showing up so much. And then she went through a beautiful season of her life. And it just, because this happens when we go through seasons of life, she kind of got off Instagram a little bit and took a little bit of a break because she was focusing on other things, as she should be doing. But then she struggled so much to get back on it. And for a lot of us, we have this like all or nothing approach when it comes to social media for our business, or just things in general for our business, especially showing up. It's like we're fully there or we're fully off. And where this can become a massive problem is when we are human and we go through a season of life. It could be moving house, it could be getting into a new relationship, it could be having a baby, it could be, unfortunately somebody passing away in your family, it could be a breakup, it could be literally, it could be a fucking world event, it could be anything, right? And that thing has caused you to just want to retreat a little bit, which is so fine and normal. But now you can't fully show up and you're struggling to get back into it. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to say it. You're overthinking everything. You're getting into a little bit of like perfectionism of this Instagram story isn't perfectly right, or this reel isn't perfectly right, or this email isn't perfectly right, or it could be better. And that combination of like the overwhelm, the perfectionism, the overthinking, the comparison, that's all of it combined, then puts this massive block in us getting to the next level. And even maybe this is something that's inhibiting you from starting your business. But for those of you that are wanting to take your business from where it is now to the next level, that means that you also have to show up in a consistent way to build that know, like, and trust with people. If you're not going to show up consistently, like why are they going to trust you? Like, you can't show up consistently. People are going to trust people more when they actually feel like they know them. But a lot of my clients, and so maybe some of you, can get trapped in the perfectionism of business because they are unconsciously comparing themselves to what other people are doing online. They're thinking what other people are doing online is like so perfect. So they put that on themselves when in reality, nobody is perfect. And frankly, the people that are showing up with like this shiny perfection all the time, they become less relatable anyway. Just because somebody else that you see that has like 1 million followers shows up perfectly, it doesn't actually mean that they're making money or sales or having a successful business or having the lifestyle that they want. So let me kind of go into this because this is gonna kind of lead into a little bit of the life update that you guys want as well, which we'll go into in like another episode in the nitty gritty. Um, so something that people, let me start with this. One, running a business is not always sunshine and fucking rainbows. And in a recent Instagram story, one of you, or in a recent Instagram Q&A, you guys asked me a really good question that I'm going to come back to and answer in a second around like, as your business grows, are you getting more overwhelmed? The short answer is no, but I'm going to go into it in a little bit. But what I do want to say is that a lot of people have this idea that running an online business is super fucking easy because of what they see through social media. And it's absolutely not, but it can be. In the beginning, it never is, because in the beginning, you've got to build foundations. Now, once you build foundations, and if you build that strong, masculine, sexy structure that feels so delicious to your feminine, that is the key. When the masculine structure and the systems and the strategy, it's not about getting somebody else's systems and strategy and then putting it in to your business. Because when you do that, that actually can become a problem, because if it's not turning your feminine on, it ain't going to work, and it's not going to work long term. And it can actually then separate you from your business, which for most of us is not actually a good idea. And it is not a good thing for marketing and selling. But with the systems and the operations and the structure and the automations and all those like back end SOPs and all that delicious masculine structure, you want to create such a solid back end that literally turns your body on. And like I said to you guys before, as I was saying this to a client, she's like, I have full fucking tingles, like turned on. Now I'm obsessed and I want to get so into this. I'm like, all right, let's focus on one thing at a time. But anyway, that's great. Like, you want to have that level of excitement with building this foundation, because then you know that the way that your foundation is being built is so supportive to you and your feminine nervous system and your dream life, that it is actually going to get you to the next level. Whereas if you take somebody else's, like, automations and foundations and whatever else, like, great, it could work perfectly for them, but you're not fucking them. Your business isn't them. This is why I'm really big on, as much as I can, like, depending on what I'm helping you guys with in programs, making sure that you're, to an extent, leading yourself and guiding yourself, because you are your best guide. You are your best healer, and you know the best thing for you. Somebody else doesn't. And so even in the Feminine CEO, like, I give you guys outlines of, like, the masculine structure and everything to do, but all throughout it, I'm like, how can we make this yours? How can you make this yours? And I'm asking you powerful questions that then help you to figure out how to make it work for you. Because what works for me and what my dream lifestyle is, isn't necessarily yours. And I want to say this because I think a lot of people, or I know a lot of people, they will think that, you know, getting to the next level of business, quote unquote, means going to the next level of income. And it might. That might be your next level of business, is breaking through a glass ceiling and getting to that next level. But you know what else can be a next level in your business and breaking through a glass ceiling? Is flow, is ease, is not having 100 million tabs open in your brain because nothing is organized in the back end. The up level could simply be that you now have a fucking system in place. So now you actually can be more in that feminine flow. Your dream lifestyle could be making $80,000 a year, like on autopilot, you not really having to do anything, or making $80,000 a year and you working 1 day a week or 2 days a week. Or your dream lifestyle could be making $1 million a year, and maybe you want to work 5 days a week. Maybe you only want to work 3 days a week. But the bottom line is, what is your unique dream lifestyle? And is your business actually helping you to get there? Because a lot of people do not have their business helping them get there. Now, we all are kind of starting off in the same boat. When you're starting a business, it's a little bit of the hustle and grind, and it needs to be. Because if you can't do that in the beginning, like, good luck to you and shit's crumbling 5 years in the future. But also, like, that's just what it fucking takes to set something up. And that is what makes your business become more successful. Is like, you've proven to yourself that you can go through the grit and you're still going to be there. A lot of people, like I was saying before, they idolize having this online business. Then they get into it and they're like, oh, this is too hard. I don't want to do this. Or like, it shouldn't be this hard when you're starting a business. And it's like, actually, it is that hard. Social media has made you think that starting a business is like sunshine and fucking rainbows. And maybe for some people it is sunshine and rainbows, but I'm going to be really honest with you guys that for the vast majority of people, it ain't sunshine and rainbows when you're starting off a business. But your passion, your why, your drive, your love, your excitement for where things are going, that is what's propelling you forward. And that's what's keeping the motivation going and the aliveness going in your body, where you're not burning yourself out because you're so fucking excited, right? Your motivation, your drive, your like joy for all of this is allowing you to show up every day. You're not pushing yourself through like, fucking quicksand where you feel like you're drowning. It actually is really enjoyable. But just for somebody on the outside, it's like, yeah, she's starting a business. Like, she has been working a lot. So the dream lifestyle piece is really important, because that's something that I'm always keeping in focus for me. And that dream lifestyle is ever evolving. And that's what's really important for you guys to remember as well, is like, as you're growing your business, what your dream lifestyle might be for next year. And therefore that's going to impact what you're doing this year in business, could be very different to what your dream lifestyle is going to be in 3 years' time. But is your business adapting to what you actually want or not? Because your business should be adapting to what you want. If, of course, you want to be running a business where you actually feel joy and like in your feminine, and you feel juicy from what you're doing, and you're turned on from your career and your business. If you don't want that feeling, then like, you're probably not listening to this episode or this podcast at all. Anyway, so for example, where I like my dream lifestyle, I've kind of got two right now. There's this focus on the book of like, get the fucking book done, but there's also this focus on motherhood. And so things are shifting and adapting in my business to ensure that I actually can have my dream lifestyle as a mother. And that dream lifestyle does not look like working every day, 5 days a week, traveling all around the world and like doing a bajillion interviews. That dream lifestyle looks very different. It looks like being able to actually pick and choose when I want to be working and when I want to be, playing with our firstborn child. And for a lot of people, they're not adjusting and not even asking themselves, like, is my business aligning with what I want? Or is what I'm working on behind the scenes in my business right now going to make me happy in a year's time or not? It's like the benefit of forward thinking a little bit and really knowing yourself means that you can change your actions now to make sure you're happy in a year's time and not miserable in a year's time. For me, we also have this like complex edition of the book stuff, which takes a lot of energy and there's a lot of things going, and that's a little bit different. So it's like I've got these two dream lifestyles of like one, getting the book to a certain place and having all of that success with it, but then at the same time I also want these other things. So like that's a whole loaded thing. But my point is like, is what you're working on right now behind the scenes in your business actually setting you up for what you want at the end of this year and next year or not? Are you just like setting your business up for this dream lifestyle that you see on Instagram that isn't actually what is aligning with your heart? Because when we are if you're ever going to join the Feminine CEO, if you're in the Feminine CEO, if you're ever going to join the Feminine CEO, that kind of sounded mean. Sorry. Didn't mean it like that. But if you're in the Feminine CEO or if you join the Feminine CEO, something that I'm really big on is like, we're not all here to necessarily make $1 million a year. I think that kind of like social media thing of like, this should be the goal, then it doesn't land with everyone, because for some women, it's like, wait, so I can only join this program if I want to make $1 million or 6 figures a year. Whereas actually you could implement the same thing that's going to take one person to $1 million a year. But for you, it won't necessarily get you to $1 million a year, but it's going to achieve your goal of working 2 days a week at home. It's really ensuring that we are adapting the strategy, the systems, the automations, the marketing, and just the way that you're showing up in a way that's actually sustainable for your dream lifestyle. So I wanted to kind of just jump on and say that piece. So for those of you that are struggling, and I'm going to go into the next bits in a minute, but for those of you that are struggling with consistently showing up online, whether it's in emails, whether it's Instagram stories, whether it's your podcast, whatever it is, there's likely the lack of structure and systems and automation. So your feminine is in massive overwhelm, and just therefore she's gone into like lack of action, like, fuck this, I'm out. Like, I don't know what to say. So therefore your mind just goes blank. Um, versus having this delicious masculinity in your business and your business having this super solid backbone that then helps you to stay in that creative flow. If I didn't have all of these masculine structures, I keep saying this, but if I didn't have all of these things set up right now in my business, I would not be able to be spending, an hour a day gardening, flying to New York to do book shoots, organizing, like meeting with my book agent and publisher, doing client calls, creating content, doing podcast episodes, replying to clients in Telegram. Like, I would not be able to do, or like having sex, looking after my dogs, exercising, eating good food, cooking every single night, having a social life. I could not do all of these things right now if I didn't have everything set up the way that I have. And so, key thing that I just said previously, right? Like a few minutes ago, everything that is set up is in a way that works for me and it allows my feminine to thrive. For some of you, things would absolutely not be set up the way that they're set up for me, because that could actually be restrictive to your creative flow. We need to remember that we are all unique beings. And we all have different things that are opening our creative flow and like bringing up that life force energy. And there's some things that for one person brings it up their life force energy, but for another person, it's actually going to squash their life force energy and their creative energy. And that could change in different seasons of life. What could work for you when you are single could be completely different when you're in a relationship. But the foundation helps you to stay consistent when you are moving through seasons. There was actually a whole module on this in the Feminine CEO, because when I met my now fiance, I went through that season of transitioning from essentially being single. Like, yeah, I was dating. Like, yeah, there was like people that I was in relationships with, but it wasn't this like intensely committed together 24/7 kind of energy. And so when I met him and then it went from like 0 to 100, it was like a little bit jarring. And that helped me to really learn like, wow, I need to have set thing like I need to actually change a few things in my business so that when that like really drastic season change happens in my life, because sometimes they're not soft and like, oh, I've got preparation time. They're drastic, right? So you want to feel like when a drastic change happens in your life, you and your business is going to be okay. Because what happens for a lot of people is a drastic change will happen. They're going through a new season. Now they're not showing up online. Now things are crumbling. Now that is stressing them out. Like they are now getting stressed because they're not showing up online. They're getting stressed because like things are fucking everywhere. They can't remember things. Their inbox is overflowing, etc. That stress then they then put that back on themselves of now they feel shame towards themselves, or they're annoyed at themselves or angry at themselves for the fact that they're feeling this way and the fact that they're behind. And now they're in the most least productive state ever to get any of these things done. And how all of this would be fixed and avoided for the future is this really strong foundation. And so a lot of people just forget the foundation, especially if you know, follow a lot of accounts that are like feminine business, feminine business. Okay, great. Yeah, like the magnetic this and the energetic stuff for here and like blah, blah, blah for sales. All of those things are important, but you're going to go into a huge state of overwhelm and chaos soon, right? It'll happen, trust me, it'll happen if you do not have these foundations. So the more that I work with women, and even like the client today, she was like, why do I feel so turned on about everything that you are like giving me to do right now and walking me through and showing me? I'm like, you feel turned on because just like when a man says to you, we're doing this today, then we're going to go here. Then I've booked the flight for this time. We've got dinner here and everything is organized. And you feel tingly when he says that, the same thing happens when you have that energy in your business. And it helps you then to consistently show up even when the world is like ending around you. A lot of you have asked me, like a lot of times, how do you show up when there is so much shit going on? When I know that you have like a whole week of clients and all these meetings and you're traveling and you're doing this and you're over here, like, how are you still doing all of this? And I'm like, oh, this is like, I'm doing it not without even thinking about it, because it's all organized and streamlined and set up. Like there's no question asked. It's not draining my energy. It's just like, boom, here we go. Not doing it would actually drain more of my energy than showing up and doing it. And that is the place that you want to be in, because that brings so much security in yourself and in your business. And we all know when you then feel secure and when you then feel calm and your nervous system is regulated, you're not then anxiously attaching yourself, trying to pull in sales, trying to pull in clients, trying to make money. You're actually able to be in a really secure place. And in that secure place, now you are a match for abundance. Now money is flowing in because you don't have this scarcity energy because things are chaotic and like you're now dysregulated. My new free business masterclass about breaking through your business ceilings is so fucking juicy. You guys want to make sure that you are able to join us and access it. I reckon it's probably going to end up being about an hour and a half long because it is so good. My notes are so long. I had to refrain myself from just continuing on because I was like, Monica, this cannot be 3 hours long. But between the vibey images that I'm giving you guys and the really tangible information, it's going to allow you to really take a look at your own business and where you are potentially holding yourself back and where the gaps are in your business that you need to start working on so you can take things to the next level. So if you don't have your own business yet, but you want to have your own business, this masterclass is not for you because you won't get anything out of it. But if you do have a business already and you want to get your business to that next level, you want to expand things, you want to quantum leap things, whatever it is, make sure that you register. You can just do so via clicking the link in the description, and I will see you during the masterclass. Okay, so like I was saying before, let's go into some of the realities of running a business and into some of these updates that I'm going to give you. So I did this Q&A a few weeks ago and on my Instagram stories, and there was two questions. One was like, what is the hardest part of running a business? And the other one was, like, do you get overwhelmed a lot? What was it? Hold on a second. I've got it right here. The other one was, has your business felt overwhelming as it's continued to get bigger? So firstly, the hardest part, in my opinion, about where my business is now compared to where it was, obviously, when I started off, is the hiring and the firing. Every business owner, everyone that's in a management position, I would say in corporate and like CEOs, I feel like everyone across the board will agree with this, that hiring is challenging, especially right now. Everyone that I know that is either running a business or is in some kind of, I was even speaking to somebody this weekend about it. She works corporate and she like hires people for the company that she works at. And then I was speaking to somebody else. Who was it? I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, everyone right now is like, they are having such a hard time hiring. And not because there's no one out there, but because it's very hard to find really high quality people. There is like, just people have changed, mindsets have changed, work ethic has changed. People like just not knowing how to be like lead themselves, be responsible for themselves, like have their own boundaries, and really just like own their life, if that makes sense. It's this weird thing that a lot of me and then these people that I'm talking to and my friends, a lot of us have noticed that basically it's like people are kind of getting obsessed with, I don't want to burn out, I don't want to burn out, I don't want to burn out, like work-life balance, work-life balance. But the obsession is actually at a negative. The obsession then causes them to burn out. It causes them to feel like they don't have work-life balance, because when you become so obsessed with something out of fear, and this is what it's from, it's like out of fear, you then literally manifest that thing because you constantly thinking about that. You're thinking, I don't want this. So what do you get? You guys know this. You end up getting the thing that you don't want because your energy isn't focused on, oh, I don't want to burn out. Your energy is now focused on burnout. Right. And instead of having this awareness of like, how can I show up super productively at my job? And how can I also enjoy my life at the same time? And how can I blend the two? How can I make sure that like I just feel joy and excitement constantly instead of feeling like you have to separate? Because a lot of people, not everybody gets their dream job, but we all can have our dream job. But what some people can do is really, and I did an Instagram post on this the other day about burnout, is like they don't blend everything in their life and have this dance. Their obsession with balance causes imbalance because balance doesn't exist. Because how can balance exist? We are all always changing. We're always having different things thrown at us. We're fucking human. And it's this it's like we all are aiming for perfectionism, right? So many people are aiming for perfectionism that they are afraid of not being perfect, burning out, not loving their job, blah, 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 that they then just don't do anything about it. They like don't take action. They get stuck in decision fatigue, especially like younger generations, Gen Z. I'm noticing that of just this decision fatigue, this inability to show up, this massive like nervous system dysregulation. I totally believe that it is from COVID. I think I actually saw a article that was published and they were actually saying that we're starting to already see the emotional impacts and the developmental impacts from lockdowns. I'm like, yep, love that for us. So hiring and firing has honestly been the hardest thing. I mean, everyone fucking hates firing. Even if somebody is so bad at their job, it's the worst. It's this feeling of like, those of you running a business and going to hire somebody soon, like buckle up for this because it's just inevitable. It happens. It's this feeling of like, even if they're so bad at their job, you like don't want to fire them because you're their livelihood. Like you're paying for their food and their mortgage or their rent and their water. And it sucks. It absolutely is just the word to describe it is it sucks. It's the worst. And so that is hard. And then hiring isn't like really, it's just hard and that it's time consuming, right? It's just like, it's an effort, it's teaching, it's repetitive. It's like, as in you're having to like teach somebody something, blah, blah, blah. But obviously the better that you can hire, the less you have to do it. And so I was saying this to those of you that were on the hiring modules. And if you weren't on it live, you can watch it in the Feminine CEO portal. But um, you just want to make sure that as you go on in your business, you're just doing a better job at hiring. Because like anything, we're not born learning, like knowing how to hire the best people. And at the end of the day, how somebody shows up in an interview and how they start off in a job can obviously change 3 years in because people change, right? We have to remember that like humans are changing. And so they could have been like a perfect fit the first year they were working. And then as the business was developing or as the business wasn't developing, maybe there wasn't any growth for them and they wanted growth. And so that can be a reason why things aren't aligning. But the ability to be adaptable in the face of change is super important as a business owner. And I would classify myself as somebody that's really able to adapt and change. It's not always easy, of course, but you need to make sure that your nervous system is able to be adaptive in change and your mindset's able to be adaptive in that change and like pivot around because it is super essential. Um, on the note of overwhelm, like have I gotten more overwhelmed as my business has continued to grow? I mean, yes, in like some moments of life, but that's usually when I just, need to like take a 10-minute meditation, come back down to earth, write out my to-do list, like recenter myself and I'm good again. But I wouldn't actually call it overwhelm. Like of course I get overwhelmed. I'm fucking human, but I wouldn't call those moments overwhelm because I don't often get super overwhelmed. I have a lot of tools that help me to stay regulated and grounded, but to answer your question, it's just that things have changed. And I've had to accept that as my business changes, it means that the way that I show up, what I'm involved in, what I have control over also changes. And that has been more of the challenging piece is the letting go of control. It's the being okay with like things not being the way that I want them to be. It's being okay with the fact that like mistakes happen because I can't control everybody and like nobody's perfect and like whatever it is. Like that's the hardest piece I've found is you are managing other people and they are people. They are not robots. And so it's very easy to put all this pressure on yourself and like expect you to be perfect, but you can't expect other people to be perfect. So that, and then obviously what I do admin wise has changed a lot. So now what I do admin wise and like behind the scenes is my focus is marketing, it's launching, it's obviously selling, it's making content, it's the podcast, like all those things that you guys know. And I will then help with the thinking and coming up with like the SOPs, operations, automations, blah, blah, blah. I think about all those things and I will brainstorm and be like, this is how I think it should be. And then I'll get feedback from the team and then I give it to somebody else and then they are the one actually implementing it. So it's really just that I've had to adapt and be more like I had to adapt and adopt in change. I've had to be okay with things making me uncomfortable because they're new and I wouldn't necessarily do it, but like we're living in an ever-changing world. I've had to just realize that getting outside of your comfort zone and expanding as a business owner isn't just like spending money on the next investment. It's also hiring a different person. It's also learning to manage people. It's also, fucking expanding your nervous system when something's happened and you're like, this isn't the way that I wanted it, or like, this isn't what I fucking said. That obviously is challenging, but I mean, that comes with every business, right? And like my biggest thing has just been to make sure that I'm continuously being the kind of boss that is supportive and grounded and patient. That's been my biggest thing. And then reminding them they're also human because people can put a lot of pressure on themselves as well. And so I'm always reminding my team like you're human. It's okay. Just let's figure out a way, like if there could have been a way or it was just a human mistake, how this could have been prevented from happening again, like if it was a mistake or whatever. But at the end of the day, like we're not working in like, some finance business dealing with like billions of money of other people's and whatever. So I feel like my job really isn't that stressful in the whole grand scheme of things. Yeah. So anyway, to answer that question, it's definitely not felt overwhelming. It's just been change that I've had to be adaptive with. Okay, so back on the topic of like rapidly changing businesses and for those of you wanting to get your business to the next level. I mean, I don't even know where to start on this because this year has just been like one thing after the other. Oh my God, nonstop, but also in the best way. Of course, in the best way. It's also like I fucking asked for it. I literally asked for this year to be a massive quantum leap, and it sure as hell is. So anyway, in terms of the realities of like a rapidly changing business, one of the things that has kept me the most I want to say grounded. I feel like that's not the right word, but just the most kind of like centered maybe is trusting my intuition. Always, always, always. Even when, the like CEO of let's say like my publishing company is like, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm like, I do. So we're going to do it. And obviously like there is a line, duh, like depending who we're dealing with. But when it comes to just like not dealing with third parties, let's say for my book, I'm really always trusting my intuition, even when it doesn't make sense. That is your superpower. That is what allows your business to stand out from other people. That is what ensures your business isn't just like a cookie cutter of somebody else's business, but you have added your own flair and your own uniqueness to this. And why this is important is because at the end of the day, people are the most attracted to authentic, to, I was about to say three words together, to authenticity. People are most attracted to authentic people, authentic businesses, and things that just feel real. No one is attracted to like the shiny object that feels perfect, especially if you're in the business of like helping people, or you're in a service-based business where you are working with other people. Nobody wants to work with someone that just makes them feel like they are imperfect. No one wants to do that. So using your flair of things, your flavor, and always trusting like what just comes up and what feels right for you. And I'm talking like even in content creation, even in big decisions, even in like marketing ideas, is I'm always just trusting what feels right, because what feels right is going to work because it brings you joy. And what brings you joy keeps you in that energy of magnetism and just like that high vibe, right? That then draws people in. If you are doing what somebody else tells you to do, but it doesn't feel good for you, that is taking you out of alignment. It's draining your life force energy. It's draining your creativity. It's draining you from your essence. And now nobody is magnetized towards you. And I've talked about this before, but your energy is everything when it comes to your business and like, I mean, everything in life. But when it comes to your business, your energy is everything. And so making sure that you're looking after your energy, especially as your business is growing, is really essential. And that's obviously not always an easy thing to do, is like looking after yourself and putting yourself first and being like, no, I'm not going to get to that task today because actually I'm going to have a nap instead or go for a walk or whatnot. But especially for us, like A-type personalities, sometimes we need to put those self-care things on our to-do list. We need to put those energetic things on our to-do list and literally tell our brain that they are productive and that they are going to have a high ROI, like business talk. Like, what is the ROI of this? Oh, this is going to mean that I'm then going to post a really juicy thing on like my YouTube or my Instagram or whatever it is, or I'm going to have a really great idea for my client and then I can pitch this to them and they're going to love it, or I'm going to be able to create this really amazing mood board. Like, it is going to bring more by doing the energetic things that bring you back into alignment. So your energy is absolutely everything. And like I was saying before, that masculine structure that supports me to get to the next level, especially getting to the next level and staying in this sense of flow and ease in my business. And I'm also a really big believer that my masculine structure and implementing masculine structure into your business is what allows you to stay in that magnetism, and that is what draws your ideal clients in and consumers and B2B customers and whatever, because they can feel your groundedness. They can feel that you have this like rock solid operation behind you, so that builds their trust too. They don't just feel like they're going to get lost and like forgotten about and whatnot. Your customer experience journey also helps them to build the know, like, and trust to then actually work with you. If you don't have a systemized journey that they're going through or like experience they're going through, why would that make them more likely to then like work with you, buy from you, whatever it is? It's not going to. So these sorts of systems, they're helping you, but they're also helping the clients or the customers or like the client facing things. It's also impacting those things. I think we also really need to take quantum leaps off a pedestal. I think we need to realize that sustainable growth is really fucking sexy in reality as well. It's not always about a quantum leap. Like, I'm not always quantum leaping in my income every single year or every single month. And I've actually realized in the last couple of years that that is such a beautiful thing. Like, wow, I have consistently made over $1 million every single year for the last 3 years, 3 years, maybe four, three, but I don't know, one of the two. That is amazing. I don't need to go from 1 million to 4 million to 6 million to 10 million every single year. Could I? Yeah, that would be fucking awesome. But I also am trying to share with you guys, it's fucking sexy when you are having consistent income too. And that doesn't mean let's take this like every month I'm growing off the pedestal. Like, that does not mean that every single month has to be higher than the month previously. because a month is actually very short when you really think about it, especially in business days. Like that is actually a really short period of time. Looking at quarters is way more like beneficial and just like better for your brain, like your mindset. And also just being realistic of like, well, what else happened that month? Did you give birth? Did you move house? Did you get in a new relationship? Because those things, they don't have to affect your income, but they could affect your income. And some people might say, well, they shouldn't affect your income. Like you should have a like passive business that's making you millions of dollars even when you're giving birth. Like, yeah, you can totally have that if you want. But what I'm saying is it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you make less money when you're giving fucking birth or when you're in postpartum or when you've just moved house. It doesn't mean that your business is then going to fail. It doesn't mean that you're not going to pick things right back up in a month's time. Being able to adapt to those ups and downs and those seasons and those shifts and those pushes and those pulls, if you can't adapt to that, you aren't going to have a business that's going to be there in 4 years' time. Your business will not last. That is the biggest difference between people that I see that have successful businesses and those that don't, is can they actually adapt and pivot and be okay when things aren't fucking rosy all the time? Because if you can't, you'll be in that statistic of most businesses fail within the first 3 years, right? Because people can't actually, they don't have the grit to keep going even when the times are tough. And what keeps you going, by the way, when the times are tough, when things are hard, is your why. I know like Simon Sinek or whatever, like he says it, it's like, what is, I actually haven't read that book, I don't think, or maybe I have a long time ago, I can't remember. Point is, it's like, it's true. When you have a strong enough goal in mind, you are picking yourself back up. You are fucking going. You're never falling off the bandwagon. Like that whole thing that people will tell themselves, like, oh, I fell off the bandwagon. Now I have to get back up. I'm like, you need to make your business to a point where you can never fall off the bandwagon. Just because you haven't posted in 2 days shouldn't mean that you're telling yourself that you're falling off the fucking bandwagon. Like that is called unsustainable business operations. That is called unsustainable business marketing. And that is the exact way that you make your feminine energy and your feminine self fucking miserable in your business. And that is how you burn her out, is by having these really strict, rigid guidelines and just like you're having a mindset like that because there is that lack of the masculine that really grounds her in her business. So even back on this quantum leap piece, like I said to you guys, this year I really wanted a quantum leap. And I made that intention because I was getting like kind of bored and I was really itching for something new because I haven't had like I mean, I have had giant quantum leaps in my personal life, that's for sure. I mean, we like, if you followed my journey, then you'd be like, yeah, Monica, you've had a few. I think that I have so many that I almost just like don't even register them, to be honest. Because from the outside, while my mom's always telling me like, I fucking can't keep up with you. Like, everyone's always telling me like, I can't keep up. But for me, I'm like, I'm bored. Anyway, my point is that I did set the intention for this year to have a huge quantum leap where I personally could look back and be like, holy shit, this year was another level. And of course, I've had beautiful, massive quantum leaps happening in the previous years, but this year I wanted a whole other level, and I don't want that next year necessarily. I don't need that. If it happens, amazing. I'm putting my energy behind it happening this year, but I'm not hyper fixated on every year. It has to be this like huge fucking thing, because again, so many of us can put these goals in place where we then feel like if we don't achieve them, we're failing ourselves. Like, oh, if I don't achieve this thing next year, then I'm going to fail myself. But what if next year rolls around and you don't want that? Are you adaptable? Are you okay with changing? Or are you then going to say that you're fucking failing yourself and you're a fraud because you said that you were going to do this thing and now you don't want to do it? Key thing, you don't want to do it. It's one thing if you wanted it, but you weren't actually going for it and letting yourself have it. So I like to have the leap and then allow myself to enjoy it. I am obsessed with fucking sustainability. I know that you guys have heard me say this before. When it comes to business and when it comes to personal development and changing your life and building your dream life, I'm like, is this shit sustainable? Because if it is not, throw it in the fucking bin. Because why would you put all of this energy into something now that isn't going to be helping you in 5 years from now? don't do it because it's a waste of your time now. And you're kind of like setting yourself up for failure because things are then just going to drop again. Then you're going to have to like pick things back up again versus having this level of safety and sustainability. That is what gets you to the next level of business. If you do not have that foundation in your business, you are lacking the safety that is going to get you to break through to the next level of income. I know sometimes I say things in like this reverse way to how you might see it on Instagram, but it's because it's actually true. So like, for example, people will, when, other people that are like doing feminine embodiment stuff and like accounts that talk about feminine energy, they'll always be like, heal your feminine, like heal your heart, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, that's great. But that can't be done until you heal your relationship with the masculine. The first thing that you actually want to do to get into your feminine is work on your masculine, which I know sounds backwards because you're trying to get out of your masculine, but we actually need to first start on healing your masculine energy, healing your relationship with masculine, because that sets a foundation of safety to then go into your feminine. So we need, and it's like the reverse for men. So we need in your business before we are, diving into like feminine stuff is actually creating a foundation that gives your feminine the safety to then come out and thrive. Because if you run a business and you're trying to get to the next level, you're probably already in this state or you've been in it before where you are so in like a creative flow, but you hit a point of chaos and you hit that point of chaos because you don't have the masculine structure. So we want to avoid you continuously hitting that point of chaos over and over and over again. That happens by having the masculine, and then having that masculine structure actually brings up more creative energy and flow because the safety creates the openness in your body and the openness in your energy field to bring in the downloads. If you don't feel that grounded safety, it's like this constant concern and worry of like, oh my God, is this going to last? Is shit going to crumble? Like, what's going to happen when this happens? Like, is this going to be working in 2 years' time? Those thoughts come from there is a level of dysregulation and a lack of like sturdiness in your business that you need. That sturdiness will get you to breaking through the glass ceiling. So just like so many of us need to date better, so many of us need to run business better, run our business better. And that does not mean that we are just chasing the highs, but we're actually realizing the beauty of having the same, of having like similar or a little bit extra revenue, or giving ourselves patience that we were going through a season of life and it's okay, or realizing the beauty and the joy that comes from actually making sure that our business is giving us the lifestyle that we want, not what somebody else wants, what we want. And remembering that lifestyle can change, but if your business can't pivot and evolve with it, then there is something wrong. And making sure that you are showing up authentically in your business, making sure that you are making the way that you show up easy for yourself. If you're making the way that you show up hard, you aren't going to show up. And a lot of people make showing up for themselves showing up for their business a lot harder than it needs to be. A lot of people can, quote unquote, quantum leap, as you see on Instagram, but are they actually? Is their back end operations feeling really fucking juicy? Is their business going to be there in 5 years' time? Are they, getting beautiful testimonials from clients? Are they actually doing their job and helping people, or, making these amazing products, or building their client base, or whatever kind of business that you have? Are you actually growing? Are you actually creating the success that you want that fills and nourishes your heart? Or does it just look like you're quantum leaping from Instagram? Because something that I am just getting more and more rooted in is it's just reminding myself, I guess, of the different ways that quantum leaps can come in. Like I was saying before, the quantum leap could be organizing your back end. The quantum leap could be the fact that now you can actually spend time with your children. The quantum leap could be the fact that your systems are so organized that 15 tabs on your head have actually been closed and your shoulders aren't as tight. That could very well be the quantum leap. And let's value that just as much as we're being told to value making like $1 million a year and having a faceless Instagram account and never having to lift a fucking finger. That's beautiful if you want that, but we need to remember that the other versions of business are just as fucking beautiful. And defining your ideal business is essential to getting to that next level of your business and upgrading, evolving, and up leveling everything. So I know I was going to give you like a little bit of a life update, but that's going to be another episode because you're going on a 50-minute tangent, which isn't a surprise. This was a very channeled episode, and I hope that this was juicy and activating and good. I'm going to leave the rest of what I want to talk about in my notes because the notes didn't get read. I'm going to leave those for another episode. But there has been a lot going on behind the scenes, and I am going to be doing a Feminine CEO new module on everything. That's actually probably going to be like, honestly, 5 parts to this. Like, it's probably going to be like broken up into 3 or 4 or 5 modules because there's so much in this. But basically, everything that I have been doing for the last, at this point, like when this comes out, it'll be like 18 months, nearly 2 years. Everything that I have been doing and my team has been doing that has been setting us up and me up and the business up for this next phase of my life. And this next phase of my life is the book coming out and me then adding that to my plate of like everything that comes with being an author and having a book and then also becoming a mother. And I mentioned this in, I don't know whether it won't be up by the time you guys listen to this podcast, but I was recording a YouTube video on this shoot that we were on last week in New York for my book because we were doing this whole like video shoot that's going along with the book and like that's a whole thing happening and there's so many good things happening. My point is with what I was talking about today of like being adaptable, even with my book coming out, I asked the CEO of the publishing house, what is like the time commitment that I'm going to need to do? Like, can you tell me like what are things going to look like when the book is coming out? And he basically said January, February, March of next year, the book's coming out in February. Your full-time job is the book. And I was like, okay, cool. And so these are really important things to know. Again, it's the masculine structure because now I need to know that in order to plan things for my business and also plan things personally because it's like making that decision of do I want to be pregnant and doing my book launch or do I want to wait? Like now I'm like, I don't fucking know. We've planned on starting to potentially try for a baby right after our wedding, but then that's happened. Then I got told that and I'm like, fuck, I don't know. And so it's these things where we can get so fucking rigid in our timelines and our plans and the lack of adaptability, the lack of flow, which often comes because there is a lack of structure because we all know, ladies, we can only let go of control when the masculine is like, I've got you. So that lack of flow can come with a lack of structure. But when we are trying to control, it creates stagnancy in our body, in our energy field, in our bank account, in our business. And so even just like with all of this happening, I'm like, this is running a business. It's like, okay, there's a change. Cool. I actually don't know what I want now. I don't actually know what I'm going to do. I actually don't know like the full plan, but that's okay. I don't have to know right now. I've got fucking not nearly a year, but like I kind of do. I've got like 10 months or something to figure out like what I'm going to do. And it's going to happen and it's going to be okay. And like, blah, blah, blah. Where I was going with that. I don't even fucking know where I was going with that. Wow, I have no idea where I was going with that. I think that's my sign to like shut up and log off and finish this episode. But I know where I was going with this was we have these new modules that I'm going to record for you guys probably around August time of this year for the Feminine CEO. And it's everything that we've been doing to set me up for becoming an author and that being now part of my like calendar and like all that comes with that. And then also going into motherhood. So there is a lot that is coming through with that. And even if you don't want to be a mom or don't want to be a mom soon, you can literally use that for just any season of your life. Like if you just want to be able to work less, like cool, this stuff is going to work for you. If you want to be able to choose to sometimes work less or be able to take more time off or just to, like have your business take a little bit less of your time so you can then write your own book, for example, and have the time to do that, then these modules will be really helpful for you as well. So for those of you that are really wanting to implement all of this structure and the systems and whatnot, there's already so much for you in the Feminine CEO. There's like 90 something modules, but we do have these really juicy ones coming that I'm excited about because obviously it's super fresh. It's super, what's the word? Like it's happening right now. We're doing it right now. And I'm going to make them as detailed as possible and templates and whatnot. And they're going to be very masculine in terms of the structure, but it's done to turn all of our feminine energy systems on. So I am going to love you and leave you. I do hope that you guys love this. I really was like, oh, I'm going to do like a 30-minute episode before my meeting. And now It's not been. So I hope that you loved it. If you listened to the end, thank you very much. I appreciate it. As usual, I love it when you guys share the episode on your Instagram stories and tag me, because I spent an hour of my time and my team puts all of these things together for you guys. I hope that you got a lot out of it. Leave me a written review and join the Feminine CEO if you have felt like you need that next level of implementation from today's episode.